Is a very special day in the Jewish New Year calendar because this is actually called the one of the Jewish New Years. There's many different Jewish New Years, but today, the 19th day of Kislev, is one of them. Not only is it one of them, but it's a pretty big deal, as a matter of fact. So yeah, here we are at this osmos.com, work in progress, trying to if anyone has any suggestions for making it better style, let me know. But basically, we have today represents a lot of things, first of all, but mainly it's the day where in Chabad and in the world we start learning this book called the Tanya. There's a book that's the foundation of Chassidus, written in the late 17th century. It's like the constitution of the Creator, kind of thing. And it's like the Chassidus is like the deeper essence of the Torah. And every day we study a tiny little bit of it. And we finish all 5 books in the year. And today, the 9th day of Kislev, the Jewish New Year, is the day where we actually finish the cycle and begin a new cycle. So it's a pretty special day. It's a day that like it gives us the power to spread the teachings of Chassidus, the essence of the Torah, to all of creation. So let's just take a quick look at the title page, which is the first page of the Tanya. And this is osmos.com. It's work in progress, so let me know if you guys have any suggestions of how to make it better, such that it could replace all the other apps in the universe. But for now, I have some different translations. So basically, this book starts out saying that this is just this is like the title page. Let me show you the actual title page. This is actually, wait a second. Maybe I'll upload a picture of it. But yeah, this is basically a book written by the founder of Chabad, 17th century, which encompasses the essence of the Torah, like the soul of the Torah. It's really what it's all about. So it's like different parts of the Torah. There's like the legal aspect of the Torah, then there's the stories of Torah, and then there's some kind of hints of deeper teachings. But the Hasidus, which is mainly innovated by the Alter Rebbe, the founder of Chabad, and his teachers, but he was the one who mainly made it public, is the essence of the Torah, the soul of the Torah, even beyond the Kabbalah. So this is what the actual title page looks like. It's kind of small, you can't even see it. It's brutal. What if I open up a camera? Oh man, what did I just do? This is brutal. Okay, whatever. Let me open up a camera app. I don't know if you can still see it, but this is what the actual title page looks like. And now let's read it in the English Osmosifized translation. So this basically says this book is called the Sefer, is the book, which is Likutei Amarim. The first section is called just a collection of talks, a collection of sayings, meaning when the Alter Rebbe made it, it's like he was just being humble. Really, he's the one who put together like this huge book of like telling people what the essence of the Creator is and stuff like that. But he just said, "Oh no, don't worry. It's just a book of collected talks that I found from other people." And this is the first volume. There's 5 volumes corresponding to the 5 books of the Torah. But this right now we have the first volume that we're starting today, and then Jewish New Year, 19th day of Kislev, which is called the Sefer Shel Beinanim, the book of the average. So there's different kinds of people. There's average person. There's righteous, and then there's wicked or bad people is the initial understanding. I mean, this is what the Rambam, the Maimonides says from the Talmud. It says, oh, if someone has like a majority of, it says everyone has good deeds and bad deeds, and if someone has like a majority of good deeds, then they're considered like a righteous or good person, and if they have a majority of bad deeds, then they're considered evil, and if they have exactly half and half, then they're considered average. So that's at least the initial understanding of what righteous and average means before people started learning the Tanya. So when the Tanya started out, I mean, it seems kind of weird. Like, this book is written for the average person, and the simple understanding of average is someone who has exactly half and exactly exactly half good and exactly half bad deeds. So it doesn't sound like such a good guy. You know, like I mean, half the things they ever did was bad, but no, it's going to explain what the real meaning of average means. But this book, he says, is called by the name of a book for the average person, and average is not so average, as we're going to say. And this book is essentially collected from scholars, from scribes, and from other books. So this is like the Alter Rebbe's magnum opus book that he's writing. It's a huge deal, but really, he doesn't say that it was like his own work. He says, "Oh, don't worry, I just like found these things collected from other people, and who are this is collected from scribes who have holy exalted souls in the Garden of Eden, which is the Jewish afterlife, and this whole book, it says, is founded based on a verse in Deuteronomy that says this matter, which is talking about keeping the Torah and the commandments and repentance in general is very close to you in your mouth and in your heart to do it. So this part of this book is to explain very well how it's extremely close to every person to keep the Torah. How did Moses said like, oh, don't worry, the Torah is not in the heavens. Like you don't have to like say, oh, let's build ladders to go up to the heavens to go learn the Torah. No, because the Torah was given to earth. It's very close to you, but not only close physically, but also close spiritually. The Torah and the commandments is very close to observe. It's close in your mouth and in your heart to do it. Meaning like in your mouth in terms of like learning it in terms of speech, and in your heart in terms of thought. Like it's very easy to keep the Torah because it's very close to us. So that the Alter Rebbe says the point of the Tanya is to explain very well how exactly it's close to every person in both a long way and a short way. And in the Talmud at Eruvin, it talks about how there's different ways. It mentions a specific example of like, oh, someone is trying to travel on the path, and there's two different ways they could go. They could either go a longer way where it's a longer distance, or they can go a shorter way with a shorter distance. But the longer way, but actually this is the shorter way, even though it's shorter distance, but it has like a lot of obstacles and it's not so easy to get through. But the longer way, even though it's a longer distance, but it's there's no obstacles in the way. So there's also like a spiritual idea of like a long and a short way. You could do things either quickly, but if you do it quickly, then it might not be so worthwhile, even though it's a quicker result. Or you could do things longer, which is takes a longer time, but it's like more worthwhile kind of thing. So the Alter Rebbe says in this book, it explains both ways, both how to do things in a way that's in a short way, which is like if someone needs to observe the Torah just like right away without like any preparations, they could do that. Or it could just be in a longer way, but it's more worthwhile. I have to go because it's almost Shabbat. So this is basically everyone can read this on osmos.com. I have like AI translation for a lot of this stuff. But this is basically just talking about and it's pretty intense AI. It's not even like yeah, it's pretty brutal. But yeah, so yeah, I will have to go in a few minutes. But basically, this is like the different approbations from other rabbis at the time, in the early 17th century, when this book first came out, talking about how the books are. I mean, this other stuff about the Osmos was added through AI, but you can verify what the actual translation is. So this is just talking about different rabbis talking about how great the book is, and how like authoritative it is from the Alter Rebbe side. So basically, essentially, it says that the Alter Rebbe didn't even intend to publish it as a book. He was just writing these things as teachings for people to learn. And then, but then once there was a bunch of mistakes in the there was like certain like packets, like basic manuscripts, not like an official book, but there was like certain handouts of like certain teachings he would give out, and then Alter Rebbe just was giving these teachings just for people to learn to connect to the Creator in a personal way. But then once there was a bunch of mistakes that kept on being inserted into them because there was no official printing. So therefore, that says here that's why this book was printed as an official book. That's just basically what it's saying. And this is today's Tanya. We're good in the coming days. Hopefully, we'll start the other parts of the Tanya. And I mean, I have to go for Shabbat. But really quickly, the parsha this week is Parshas Vayeshev. It talks about after Yaakov was trying to make peace with his brother Esav, who was trying to kill him for 30 years, and he had like Esav had like an entire or Esau in English had like an entire army trying to fight against Jacob in last week's parsha. But there's a whole story how Jacob like took a bunch of gifts, like animals, servants, like tons of physical gifts as far as the eye could see, and he gave them all to Esav to make peace. And then essentially there was peace for 17 years where Jacob and his sons lived peacefully in the land of Israel, known then as the land of Canaan. And there was no problems at all. Everything was like paradise, like the future time of the Messiah. And then finally, when his son Joseph was 17 years old, there's a whole story about how Joseph had a bunch of dreams about his brothers bowing down to him as a king, and then his brothers felt kind of threatened, or maybe they felt like Joseph was kind of like implying that he was going to rule over them when he maybe wasn't supposed to. So basically, because of that, there's a whole story how his brothers sold their brother Joseph into slavery, and then Joseph was sold as a slave to Egypt, and then that's essentially how the slavery of Egypt started. Because there's a whole story coming up. We'll talk about it more, but basically that's what this week's parsha is talking about. How Joseph had these dreams of his brothers ruling over him, and then because of that, his brothers sold him as a slave to Egypt, and then based on that, eventually there was a famine in Egypt, and then Joseph ended up being appointed by the Pharaoh to run the entire land of Egypt, and then because of that, because of the famine, and Egypt was the only place that had food, because of Joseph, then his brothers ended up coming to Joseph, and they needed him for sustenance, and that's how the dream was fulfilled. But in the meantime, we'll talk about the Parsha more. But that's the basic Parsha, the land of Canaan, the land of Israel, where Jacob and his sons were sitting there in a similar way to how it's going to be when the Messiah comes with ultimate peace. But then after that, then there was a bunch of other stuff that happened all the way to the modern era, which is like the Exodus from Egypt and stuff like that, which started with the story of Joseph. But it's related to today, which is the 19th day of Kislev, which represents the idea of spreading the Chassidus, the deeper meaning of Torah, to the whole world. Because that's the idea of Joseph being sent to Egypt, even though it wasn't like a good thing. It didn't seem like a good thing at the time, but then through Joseph being in Egypt, then he was able to get his brothers to Egypt, and they were like able to live as royalty there, and then spread the Torah in Egypt. So that's the idea of the Parsha being related, because the idea of spreading Chassidus to the whole world is like the idea of like even within Egypt, you could spread the deeper teachings. Anyway, I have to go because it's Shabbat coming up in a few seconds. I mean, a few minutes, but still. So, and I have to figure out how to end this live. So it's pretty intense. Okay, see you